Welcome back to another episode of Ben and Eric's podcast. On today's episode, we're talking about the 2023 hit Past Lives from writer-director Celine Song. Joining Past Lives is Succession. Succession came in second place on the Instagram poll, so we're talking about it today. Past Lives is about when Nora and Hae Sung, two deeply connected childhood friends, are wrested apart after Nora's family emigrates from South Korea. 20 years later, they are reunited for one fateful week as they confront notions of love and destiny. In Succession, the Roy family is known for controlling the biggest media and entertainment company in the world. However, their world changes when their father steps down from the company. Let's get right into it. Eric, how are you doing today?
Ben, I am doing well. How are you doing?
Good. We spoke recently. We recorded the last pod a couple days ago, but here we are again. I'm doing good. Trying to stay healthy.
How the first few weeks of school going?
Good. Yeah, we're doing fine. School's going well. My classes they're nice. They're engaging. Better than last year.
Any film classes?
Yeah. I'm in intro to documentary making.
Oh, that's right.
And media criticism, which is where I'm learning all about how to criticize capitalism, really. It's a thinly veiled critique on capitalism.
Yeah.
It's fun, though. You get to learn different ways that the system is kind of fucked up.
Occupy Wall Street kind of stuff, like we'll see you in New York and protesting soon?
No, not quite. More like it is still related to films. It is still like,
okay.
How do you criticize these pieces of media in this kind of society? But first you have to know like what kind of place you're living in. You can't just like believe that everybody loves movies and that there's nothing bad going on. There's nothing exploitative going on or whatever. What happened?
All right. Bring some of that firepower here today.
Yeah, for Succession, I'll bring that out.
Oh, yeah, right, of course.
So, Past Lives. This is a movie that came out 2023, written and directed by Celine Song. It's about a love triangle. That's its main focus, is this love triangle between Nora and Hae Sung, but also Nora's husband. So I don't know how spoilery we can get, but let's talk about the movie first. Like
let's do the high points of it. I mean,
we meet them. Me of a Linklater movie.
Sorry?
It reminded me of a Linklater movie a little bit.
Yeah, everything reminds me of a Linklater movie, but yeah, we meet these two when they're children in grade school, but right before Nora leaves for Canada, and eventually she ends up in the U.S. But they start in South Korea as grade school, mini sweethearts. They're kind of, have little childhood crushes on each other, and they hang out a lot and have some friendly competitions in school and whatnot.
Yeah.
And then broad brush, we get a look at them, jumping ahead a bit, we get a look at them 12 years later as young adults in their separate worlds. And then we get a look at them another 12 years down the road.
Yeah.
So that's Linklater-ish, right? It's sort of like, the jump aheads in Boyhood and other movies that Richard Linklater does, like the Before series. So it's a good look at where they are in various stages of their lives, and then how they interact and how their relationship intersects or doesn't, or grows or doesn't. And in the meantime, Nora has gotten married to someone in the US and they're living in New York. So that's the broad brush. And this movie just came out on streaming for rental. I think we got it for $6. I got mine from Amazon. I think you can get it from Apple TV Plus as well for $6.
Yeah, I think Amazon. I thought it was $5. Whatever. It's all kind of the same. But yeah, it did just come out on streaming. We missed it. I missed it in theaters. Did you see it in theaters?
I did not. I saw it just a few days ago.
Yeah, we're terrible hosts. We need to see this shit in theaters.
We were talking about it. We intended to, but
we didn't. Yeah, we intended to.
Yeah, didn't happen.
It was mentioned between us. So yeah, you actually cut out for a few seconds, so I kind of caught the second half of it more than the first half. But Yeah, thank you for summarizing this story. That you do that way better than I do. So, do you want to talk about the performances? Do you want to talk about?
I could talk about the movie in general first. I mean,
Yeah,
my impression of the movie was it was very quiet. It was pretty slow paced,
yeah,
but that was to a pretty good effect. I felt like really focused on what everyone was saying. That every word that was used in this triangle that you described was really intense and impactful. And I was hanging on everybody's word, and like especially Arthur, the Nora's husband in New York, who is feeling a little bit left out once Nora makes contact again with Hae Sung.
mm,
Arthur is feeling a little bit threatened. So when Nora and Arthur are having these conversations in what appears to be a pretty healthy marriage, you are hanging on every word. You're like, he's a little threatened, and you're waiting for someone to say something stupid, and you're hoping someone doesn't, because I kind of wanted that relationship to continue, and I won't say whether or not it does, as that's a major spoiler, but it does feel like it's almost like the movie was like a thriller to me. Like if you could have a romance story be thrilling, it was thrilling to me, because each time these two, Nora and Arthur, would have a conversation about Nora's latest engagement with Hae Sung, it was really intense. It was like, oh shit, what is she going to say? Is she going to let out she has feelings for Hae Sung? Is Arthur going to feel threatened to the point where he's going to say something, that's going to damage their relationship? So even though the dialogue was probably not that lengthy, I mean, the number of pages in the script must be pretty small, but each word carried some weight, and I really enjoyed that about this movie. And by the time the end of the movie came along, I was really invested in all three of the characters. One thing I read about the Celine Song, who wrote and directed this movie, I heard an interview where she said she wanted each character to have their point of view that you could relate to. She didn't allow you to be on one and only one team. And I think she knocked that out of the park. I really felt like I was invested in all three of their stories, which when you get in a love triangle, you're like, you're on team Nora or team Hae Sung or team Arthur. That was not the case. I had empathy for all three.
yeah.
And for that reason, I love this movie.
Um, I'm not gonna disagree with that. I really like. I find this movie is very good. I liked watching it. The ending hit home. Like it was an impactful ending. It was done well. Um, I get the empathy for everybody. I kind of felt for Arthur a little more than any of the other two, just because they seemed like they were a little more in control, or like it was Arthur was just Arthur was either gonna be let in or left out. It didn't seem like he had much autonomy, so I kind of felt for him a little bit. Also, being like a Jewish kid from the East Coast, I could
To
relate to
relate
it a
to
little
Arthur.
bit.
Yeah, right.
Um,
As he called himself in the movie, I'm the evil white American husband standing in the way of destiny.
yeah,
So like the exposition was right there up front. That's the way he was written, and
yeah.
you did feel like he was playing that role.
And Celine Song has a very good script. She wrote a very, very good script. She's a really great writer. I don't know if she's a really great director. She's a good director,
Hmm.
but honestly, this movie might have benefited from somebody else directing it. She wrote a great script. Her IMDb is writing credits on TV shows. She knows the industry. She knows how to write, and this movie is proof. Like her script and the dialogue between the characters is really good. The direction and the cinematography, I feel like she was getting pulled in different directions, and the visuals took the brunt of that.
Hmm.
The performances and the writing were all stellar, and that's where this movie thrives. Really, like this movie doesn't need some crazy camera work, but it does seem like she could have co-directed it with somebody. I don't know. That being said, I am excited to see what she does next. Like if she does another writing and directing project, I'm very confident that it will be better than this movie. But
what brought you out of it? What specific? Can you point to a specific camera
um,
work or a scene that brought you out of the story that was being told?
there are certain things like some of the New York shots. I don't know. I wasn't like. The more I thought about it, the less I was like that. I'll really remember that.
Mm-hmm.
Like there are certain there it felt like there was something missing for me for it to be a great movie. This is a good movie, but for it to be a great movie, I think maybe what was missing or what I had was expectations that were too high. People had been
Mm,
talking up this movie for a while now,
for sure.
um, loving it. They loved everything about it. No one was really criticizing it that I heard. I mean, I'm sure there were, but I think my expectations were too high, so I'm putting it on this level of like great romance movies, and to me, it it let me down because my
Yeah,
expectations were that high.
that's true for you and I, especially. We look at what's coming up in theaters and then streaming, and our expectations have been set by the many different podcasts and other reporting
Just Twitter
shows. And
reviews, just tweets about like I
yeah,
love this movie, I can't get enough. Just that will raise my expectations.
yeah, like I just saw a quick blurb on the new Scorsese movie that someone said, wherever your expectations are, raise them. This movie delivers in an incredible way.
Yeah,
So like that's not good, right? Because it raises a bar that's already set for us even higher.
yeah, but that is a little bit like people are like it's Martin Scorsese.
Okay,
You can kind
it's
of raise expectations.
whatever the level's at, it's up now, and I don't love that. I was going to see that movie anyway. I don't need someone to tell me that for me to go see that movie.
That's true.
So it's like just chill on resetting my expectations. I don't need it.
I kind of like high expectations because I really want things to blow me
Hmm.
away. I don't want there to be like some low bar of expectation.
No, that's a
Except if
good
I'm
point.
watching like Blade, then I think it should be like, okay, this movie's gonna be fucking stupid at points.
Trashy, sure, yeah, but
But
this one, especially a movie like this, I understand that point. I go into something like this understanding my existing perception of how I'm going to react to it, and then I try to like put that aside and lose myself in the story and try to connect with the characters early, because if I
I
can
think
do
I
that,
did. I really did
yeah,
that.
I can get lost in their story, and I really did. There's a concept that they talk about in this movie a few times that is not a spoiler, and I think in a few minutes we should get into some spoilery stuff, especially around the end.
Okay.
But there's a concept called inyan, which I assume it's Korean, which
Yeah, it
suggests
is.
that people are destined to meet one another if their souls have overlapped a certain number of times before.
Yeah.
So especially for
In
Nora,
past lives, like
right,
in reincarnations of
right.
themselves.
So especially if you got Nora and Haesung, if they knew each other back in Korea when they were kids, and then they cross paths again, and they cross paths again 12 and 12 years later. So what is destiny as it relates to people and relationships that they could form or have formed, and maybe ones that shouldn't have formed, I guess. So that concept was pretty strong, and they kept that going throughout. So as far as sort of a core concept that maintained itself and drove the entire film, I thought it did a great job at that. um, what does destiny have to do with these two people, and how does that affect sort of an innocent bystander in Arthur, who didn't do anything unethical or improper in the way he courted Nora and them getting married? There was no pressure there, and all of a sudden he's now looks like the third wheel.
Yeah. Yeah. He is kind of the third wheel. But there is one thing I'd like to say just about the general vibe for this movie that I
Yeah.
felt when I was watching it. I did really feel empathy for all three characters, and I really was enveloped in the story and wondering where it would go, and admiring like the performances from our main actors. But afterwards, I took 10 minutes, ate some food, and came back, and I thought, what am I gonna write to talk about? What am I gonna write about that I want to mention. And besides the performances, which I feel like we talk about every fucking episode, and I'm sure everybody is tired of hearing exactly how great the performances were, I don't know how to genuinely compliment this movie in a
Mm-hmm.
way that would make it sound great. Like, I don't know what compliments I could give it to align it with movies that I consider great.
Mm-hmm.
It in no way, shape, or form does that mean I'm gonna criticize it or insult it to put it on a level of movies I don't like. But
I'll give that a shot, because I thought the same kind of thing, where like, oh, I remember that scene and that scene and that scene, and there were 8 great scenes. There was great sort of building up to 2 or 3 really gut punch moments. Like the end of the second act, Arthur is um he's talking about him being the foil in this, and like I don't, he says something like, I can't compete with this,
is this
and
them in bed?
yeah,
Because
yeah, and
I do remember that.
that
That's
really quiet scene
yeah.
where it's almost like the exposition is like pouring out of him, where all the things that I've been thinking, it's like, yes, Arthur, that you're absolutely right, tell her that, tell her what your truth is and how you think you fit into this world now and her life. And I was hanging on every goddamn word, and everything that came before that contributed to what he was expressing. And I really dug that. It almost like felt like a climax of the movie that was not near the end, but was really necessary, because all this pent up belief, and she wasn't hiding anything necessarily, but she also um, wasn't being really, wasn't
She
being
kind of
super
was
expressive
hiding a
with him.
little bit.
I mean, not a lot. I mean, there's, whatever, but there wasn't anything that I think she did that was
There's
improper in
nothing
her
really morally wrong. Yeah, there is no really morally
engagements.
wrong character here.
But that scene, and we'll jump to the end in a minute. The last scene is another one where it's like the 20 to 30 minutes that came before the last scene was like, yeah, we're building up to this, and what happens in the end of the movie is not like, a bomb didn't drop, but there was dialogue between characters that was impactful, and it hit hard, because you were on the upswing of this roller coaster. Click, 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 click. It was going up the hill, and at some point that thing is going to drop. And I thought those 2 moments in this movie were the ones that like were worth the price of admission for me.
Yeah. That dialogue scene in the bed, and I think we're gonna get into a little bit of
Yeah, here
spoiler
we go. Let's
territory
go.
now, but for anyone's interested in renting it, we're probably gonna spoil it now. To me, I won't actually spoil it at this very moment, but I will, and if we will in a minute. But that scene was like really dim, like visually, it was grainy, and so I'm hearing this great dialogue. This thing is shot in like really low light on a camera that is not meant for it. So I'm watching this and like looking at this grain, thinking like, what are we do? Like this is a really important thing, and it's going on for a long time. There's no like we're gonna cut away after a minute of dialogue. We'll include it even though it kind of looks grainy and funny. But why? Movies
That
are
might be
made
a
with
Ben.
light, and there was not enough light in that scene.
That might be a Ben problem. I think I didn't have that concern. I watched it on the big screen, and yeah, it was dark. They were in bed. It was late, so they were
Oh, you
talking
think it was
in
my
bed.
computer? It might have been my computer. I
I
don't know.
think so. I think
So then
so.
maybe that's my fault.
There's
But I
this,
was watching it
there's
in
a
the dark.
button. There's a button called like brightness on their
Oh
computer.
yeah,
This
it's
button.
100 every single time.
um, yeah, that's fair. I mean, if that took you out of it, that sucks, because I think that scene was
It no,
pretty
it,
great.
I still got the dialogue, but the
Yeah,
whole time I'm looking at it, I'm like, this looks dim. Like, what? Why does it look this way? Not why does
yeah.
it sound this way? It sounds great, but I don't know.
Let's go to the end of the movie that uses some. We've talked about these tropes where when something's moving right to left, that signifies going to the past. When something
Yeah,
moves left to right, it signifies going forward into the future.
yeah,
And Hae Sung is leaving New York, and he's getting to an Uber to go to the airport to head back to. He's actually
Seoul.
going to do China he's going to Seoul, but he's going to do a China stint to learn Mandarin.
No. Oh, you're talking about this in the middle of the movie.
No, it's the end. I'm talking about the end.
No, he already did all that.
Oh, he did the China thing?
That was at the first 12 years.
Oh, my bad.
Learning
my bad.
Mandarin was in the first.
So
12 years.
he's leaving, right? He's going back to Korea, therefore. So he and Nora walk into the Uber as Arthur's sitting back in the apartment that they all just left, and they just stand there looking at each other for a couple, 2-3 minutes, waiting for the Uber on the street after they've walked right to left in a very quiet walk, and now Nora and Hae Sung are just looking at each other. And I don't know about you, but I didn't breathe, right? Who's going to say the first thing?
Mm-hmm.
And they didn't. And the Uber pulls up, and that's when the dialogue starts. And, we don't have to talk about specifically what they said, but the tension, and that's where I said that sort of the thrilling aspect of the story really came through for me, was I was ready for something to be revealed, and they were making us wait for it. Uh-huh. And it was, I think it really delivered. And before we go back to when Nora goes back to the apartment to see Arthur, do you have any thoughts on that scene?
Before they go back to the apartment?
Yeah, he's in the Uber, they're chatting, he and Nora chatting a bit, and she's about to leave Hae Sung in the car as it's leaving.
To me, that scene makes you wait. I was not as involved as you were. Now, I can tell already that what I was feeling in that scene was a little bit like, get on with it. Like the train had left the station for me on this movie at some point, and I was in the train behind it. I was on my way, but just wasn't there yet. I was just not as invested or bought into this story as other people were. I don't know. That's but finally there's a movie on this podcast where I can be like, I didn't find this as good as I thought I would.
Right.
At least I'm not like fanboying over every single movie now, but like it didn't hit for me.
That's fair. Let's go when Nora goes back to see Arthur, who again, it is a left to right. She's walking back from the Uber to see Arthur after she says goodbye to Hae Sung. I full disclosure, I did not cry the entire movie.
Yeah, me neither.
Except when she got to Arthur.
Yeah.
And then she loses it. And she, like, everything that was built up within her just released. And she started to sob and gave Arthur a hug. And he was there for her. And he consoled her. And whatever she was going through, he was there for her. And that's when I lost it. It's like that was a release for everybody. And I was so glad that happened, because it's like, I'm not feeling it. But then when you realize that she was playing it tough for most of this engagement with Hae Sung, and then she wasn't. And I felt that release when she did.
Yeah, I did too. My eyes definitely watered there. But instead of thinking about Hae Sung, I think there was just a point in the movie where I completely lost the ability to believe that Hae Sung and Nora would ever happen. Like whether, like, I still believed it after the first 12 years, which is like more than halfway through the movie. I still believe it, but there's just a certain point after that dialogue in the bed. I'm like, this is never happening. How is Arthur and Nora going to survive, or how are they going to move forward from this? It was never about Hae Sung after that for me.
Right.
So there was the disbelief was not suspended anymore.
Got it.
In terms of that, I still believed in Nora and Arthur, but Hae Sung and Nora never clicked again for me. There was just the air that Hae Sung was always going to be in love with Nora. Nora might even be in love with Hae Sung, but the time has spent. Again, the ship has sailed. The train's left the station. That's over. And to me, when she was crying at the end, it didn't mean she missed Hae Sung, or she felt like she missed her chance, or she was in love with another man and stuck here. Mm-hmm. It felt like she genuinely missed her family. It felt like she missed her country that she came from, her home environment. Like, I mean, I'm literally taking a a course called Asian American like studies in graphic novels. So we're reading graphic novels, but it's
Hmm.
about like Asian American history. So the first week was Chinese Exclusion Act. Now it's like the Vietnam War, and it's refugees from Vietnam and their stories about like going all over the world, and it's really fucking powerful. It's really moving. These immigrant stories, these war stories, are really powerful. And they didn't flee anything. They didn't flee war. They emigrated by their own choice, but they were still ended up in a land where they didn't grow up speaking that language. They didn't grow up with these kids and the culture that these kids grew up in. So in a way that they're still foreigners, like that's a part of her identity that is never gonna, where she came from is never gonna change.
Hmm.
She's always gonna, as long as she's not there, she's always gonna be in a new place, in a foreign land to her. So that's what I felt and what I was thinking when she was crying at this ending moment, but it was not about Hey Song anymore.
Yeah, and part of what I was doing was rooting for Arthur and Nora too, because I think I was with you in terms of it didn't feel like she was ever going to jump in that Uber with Haesung and go back to Korea with him. So that was never a real possibility. But how it gets resolved, I really felt like they tied it up nicely. I would like to see a Linklater, 9 years later situation now to see where these two
Yeah,
are.
it also felt like they didn't age, like makeup wise. They didn't really
Yeah,
age. Like 12 years. I don't know if they're just incredibly good looking, and they
you
were
just
like,
change
"Fuck
a
it, we don't want to
hairstyle.
make
You
them
just
look
change
old."
a hairstyle in
Yeah,
Hollywood, and that's the indication that
that's 12 years of age.
time has jumped.
I can't wait to look like that with a different hairstyle when I'm 32 compared to when I'm 20.
You think you're gonna have that hair when you're
Fuck
30?
no. That's the one thing I can't relate to Arthur about, is having a full head of hair when he's 30 something.
So I one more thing about the actress in this, Greta Lee. She was, so everyone knows who she is. She was Natasha Lyonne's friend in Russian Doll, the one when Natasha Lyonne comes back into her apartment, in Groundhog Day over and over and over again, when her friend is in the kitchen and greets her. So that was Greta Lee, Nora in this movie, and I forget the role she played in Russian Doll, but she was the Asian friend that Natasha ran into every single time she came back to the starting point in that show.
Huh. Okay, for
Yeah,
those of you who know what Russian Doll is.
great show
Okay.
from 3 or 4 years ago. Yeah. Any
Um,
more thoughts on?
Teo Yu, who plays Haesung,
Yep.
he was born in Germany. He's been like acting in independent films most of his life. He said in the IMDb like interview at the top of his IMDb that Tony Leung was an inspiration for his career. So he's my favorite out of that cast. I adore Tony Leung, and he was like, Western audiences were introduced to him with Shang-Chi and the Ten Rings, and I was like, no, I fucking wasn't. No, it wasn't. I knew who he was. I love Tony Leung. And he was like, yeah, you need to see the Wong Kar-wai films with Tony Leung in them. So if you're like Eric and you think In the Mood for Love is a mediocre movie or Chungking Express can go fuck itself, don't be. Watch them again. Tony Leung is so incredible. I could watch him on screen for 10 hours. He's so fun. He's so great. So
One thing I learned
he's my
about
new
him
favorite.
is he speaks very broken English in this. He knows just very
Yeah.
few words of English in the
He can
movie,
speak English, by the way.
but he's fluent English speaker too.
Yeah,
So
he has like a slight accent, but I don't even know where the accent's from. I think it could be German. It could be like a German. He studied in London. He moved back to Seoul. Like I think his accent's from all three places. He just knows English.
Well,
But
I think
he,
this is going to get this. I think this movie's going to get awards buzz, so everyone should check it out.
I would
And
like it for the performances. If this movie wins Best Picture or is in the running, guys, like, can Drive My Car come back out in 2023 and win Best Picture? Like that shit was good.
yeah,
Ugh.
agreed. All right, enough about Past Lives. I think people should see it. I'm giving it a solid 4.5 stars.
Oh my god, we should do Drive My Car. What am I saying?
We should. A lot of people probably haven't seen that Japanese film from a year or two ago.
It's
Yeah.
so fucking good. It's from 21, I think.
Mm,
God, what? Okay, we're putting that on the list. Thank
let's
God
go
I
on the list.
remembered to mention that.
It's a long movie too, right?
Yeah, but it's literally, it feels shorter than this. It's so
Mm,
encapsulated.
all right. Asian Studies, Ben. Look at you go, man. Let's go. Keep
Well, I knew
going.
about
Asian.
those movies before I took this class.
You're
But yeah, it's a fun class. Like, I thought it would be easy. Like, you think like, oh, graphic novels. What do you read, comic books the whole time? Well, you do for
fine.
homework, but then like you talk about them and analyze them, and there's a shit ton of meaning in that. Just
All right.
analyzing another art form, which I think is really cool. Well, that's it for past lives. I think we said all we had to say. Kept it short, kept it tight, 30 minutes. We're gonna take a little break and be right back with Succession. And we're back with Succession. But first, a little ad read. Eric, take it away.
You say it like I have something prepared. I don't. I'm just a big fan of Dirty Sue, premium olive juice, and whiskey cherries, and premium olives as well. I was going through the list. There's definitely some olives on this list that I didn't know existed. There's blue cheese stuffed olives. These are 16-ounce jars of. I mean, these olives are like massive, so they're not like chintzy olives. They're fantastic, and they're crunchy and pimento stuffed, of course, the standard stuff. But then you've got feta cheese stuffed. You've got jalapenos, garlic. You've got ones that are garlic and jalapeno stuffed, like both of those in one. If you're a fan of both, then
I'm
go
a
for
fan of
that.
both.
And so you can buy the olives in packs with the olive juice. So they have nice packs where you can get a couple bottles of olive juice with a bottle of olives as well. So you get that at dirtysue.com or on Amazon.
Yeah,
And there's plenty of combinations to get these great cocktail mixers and accompaniments.
yeah. Stay tuned to witness me trying a martini with Eric, a dirty martini at Julie's wedding. So
Oh, nice. Perfect.
that'll be coming up. I think it'll be in one of the next succeeding episodes of this episode. So let's get right into it, Eric. Succession.
Great.
This is a little bit special for me. Eric has been talking about Succession, to me at least, for a little bit now. Is Hildy interrupting again?
Yeah, she's getting anxious.
It's all right. We'll make it quick, Hildy. Don't worry. So I had seen the first two episodes a long time ago. I think it might have been last year that you talked to me about watching Succession. And I did. I tried to watch the first two episodes, and halfway through the second episode, I gave up. I was tired of it. These guys are shitty. I didn't like it. Whatever. Fuck them. Then you're like, watch it again. So I rewatch episode 2. I watch episode 3. And then get like halfway through episode 4, and I'm like, fuck this, I'm done, I'm out. I don't care about these people. I hate them, actually. I never want to see them again. That was a couple months ago, and through this whole time you were saying, just stay patient, you're going to like these characters. There's just going to be a switch that flips, and eventually you're going to start liking these characters. And for this pod, I was excited. I was like, I can't wait. I'm going to prove him wrong. I'm going to fucking hate this still. I'm barely going to get through this 4th episode. I'm not going to want to watch another one. And sure as shit, we're halfway through the 4th episode, and I start really liking it. I'm like, man, this is fun. This is a really great show. Who are these people? They're so interesting. Why are they such pieces of shit? I don't know, but I'm going to keep watching. And I fucking like it now. And I hate that I like it.
Yeah.
And I hate that you were exactly right. You were exactly fucking right. So I watched the 5th episode too, and I was like, I still enjoy it. You know, it wasn't just the 4th. I really like the 5th episode too, and now I'm halfway through the 1st season, and like, it's, god damn it, I actually like Succession now.
There are 4 seasons. It wrapped up just this past year.
And it's already spoiled for me, by the way. It's already spoiled.
Oh, really? That's a drag. But
not really.
I probably had 8 conversations like the one you and I had with
many
other people
yeah.
who said, I don't know, these people are despicable. There's nothing redeemable about them. I don't like any of the characters. Some people just will not watch something if they're uncomfortable with the characters that they're looking at. And I totally get that. And I'd say out of the 8 people I spoke to, 6 probably pressed through and continued like you did. And it delivered for them.
It took me almost like a year.
Yeah, it's just, I'm playing the long game here. So I had that same feeling, and the reason I kept going is because I like TV like this. I like sort of event viewing. Like this was the show that everyone was talking about in
What
the
do you mean
business
by
world.
event viewing?
Event viewing, like there's something on the calendar every Sunday at 9 p.m.
Oh,
Succession will be on,
yeah,
and you're going to watch it. And then Monday morning, when you go into the office or you talk to your friends, it's like, did you see Succession? Oh my God, I can't believe whatever. So it's
yeah.
not like The Bear where they all drop at once and you're like,
You're
oh,
really
let's
pissed
talk
about
about
that.
episode 7. It's like, I
Yeah,
haven't gotten there yet. What do you mean you haven't gotten there? You got to watch. So like the
yeah,
event viewing thing, like Game of Thrones comes out weekly and you talk about each episode as it
yeah.
comes
I
out.
remember that. That was an event. I participated in the season finale of season 7 with you.
So you know what event viewing is, and I like that. So I figured this was a show based on sort of the business aspect, the capitalism, the uber rich, and all that. It's like it was going to have a lot of eye candy and stuff to keep you interested, like Billions does on Showtime, same kind of deal. So I was going to be in just by sort of nature of this is the type of TV I'm supposed to watch. So I'm going to trust HBO that they didn't fuck this up, right? They've got big stars like Brian Cox and Jeremy Strong and
Jeremy
those folks. So
Jeremy Irons, isn't it?
no,
Mike Mike tripping?
Jeremy
Oh,
Strong plays
Jeremy
Kendall
Irons is
Roy.
a way different person.
Matthew McFadden and
Jesus.
Sarah Snook, both British actors, really great. So I was going to be all in, and then
Alan Ruck too,
Alan Ruck, right?
from Ferris Bueller. Swing
That's right,
better, better,
Fry,
better. Swing better.
swing batter.
Again
So
it, again it, again it.
I got through. Obviously, I got through season 1, and then these characters, these despicable, horrible people, go through journeys where they sometimes succeed, they sometimes fail miserably, and you're there to watch this car crash happen. These events that happen in their lives that just upend them, and how do they get themselves out of this? And they come from a very privileged place, being very, very rich, so they often skate around the law, and sometimes they don't. And that's also fun to watch. I got to tell you, I never rewatched a single episode of this show through 4 years. And yesterday I watched episode 1, season 1 again. And I loved it. I could not get enough of it. I thought it was done so well. I definitely had a different experience rewatching this. And I don't know what that is. I got to analyze what that is. But as like despised as I was of these people on the first watch of that episode, this next watch I had 4 years later, 5 years later, was a completely different experience. And I think I may continue and watch season 1 again. But
Wow.
yeah, that's my take on it. And I actually, knowing that it feels so cringy, I mean, there's such cringe moments in this that, like in the first episode, Kendall is, I'm sorry, Roman, who is played by one of the Culkin brothers, Kieran Culkin, is hugging his sister, Shiv, and she gives him a hug and she smells like his cologne. She says, "What is that, date rape by Calvin Klein?" And Roman
That's
says, "You
funny.
wish." Roman says, "You wish."
Oh.
And it's like, wait, why would you say that to your sister? Why does she wish that it's date rape? Like, right? So it's like, it was funny when Shiv said it, and then when Roman countered with something that he probably didn't think through when he said it, was like super cringe, right? So you kind of, what you're getting with these characters on the second watch, and then you let that kind of just cringy dialogue go right over you, because there's going to be stuff that really cringy.
To me, that's
people are stabbing
like a
each other
really
in the
funny
back,
line.
left and right in the first episode. People are spying on other people for the family, and it's just it's a
The cringiest
masterclass in
moments for
acting.
me.
Yeah, go
Sorry,
ahead.
yeah. Yes, it's very good acting, and that is something we should talk about. But to me, the cringe moments are like in episode 4, we're at like the Respies or ESPYs or something. Like Connor Roy has put together this award show that he does every year, and he's freaking out because like the butter's too cold, and I've got dinner rolls tearing left and right. It's fucking chaos. He's like, complacent, you're fired. You're all fired. And so he's backstage with these dancers, and he's like talking, and these are like By the way, everyone in the room is white, and there are these like 6 black dancers that are gonna do an interpretive dance in the middle of this show, in the middle of this award show. And he's talking to one of them, and he goes, "You know, I had this theory that we'd reach racial equality if we completely eliminate the federal government." And like when he says that, and he goes into this spiel, that was the part that like really makes me cringe watching it. I'm doing what you do right now, what you're doing right now. Like, oh God, I
Yeah,
really want to skip. Like that makes me want to skip. Like I know
right.
I'm not going to miss some like devastating plot point that I need to go back and find. I just want to get out of this conversation. And so it does that really, really well, especially with this cast of characters that are like really despicable and at the very least just so goddamn ignorant that like you get those kinds of conversations briefly.
And when you've sat in as many sales presentations as I have, you know, PowerPoint and with a boardroom or just a conference room of people,
Yeah.
and there's probably 6 or 10 of those in these 4 seasons, and each time there's something that happens or there's something that's being presented that is like, oh no, don't do that, don't say that, and they do it, and it's like, oh God, you transport back to being in that room yourself and watching that happen, and you're like, oh, this hurts, this is so painful to watch. So, you know, you got to go into something knowing like that's cringy like this, knowing that it is going to hurt sometimes, but that the acting is so well done, and that each cringe moment is for a reason to bring a character down a peg or two for the purpose of someone else getting one up on them. And from that standpoint, it's all for the greater good of the show and its progress. And the show is constantly moving forward, and you will never ever forget 3 or 4 moments from these 4 seasons that will come up, and they will still make your skin crawl, but you will. I'm telling you, it is so worth it. And I think that they really landed the plane with the 4th season and how they
Yeah.
tied it all up too. And
It was mania. It was
yeah,
chaos. This 4th season was like I couldn't stop hearing about it.
yeah,
And I mean, that kind of goes to show like people really love this, and like it's not even like it's not a controversial thing to like this show at all, because no one goes into this show like, oh, here's some people to admire. Everyone goes into the show like, wow, these are like really terrible people. I mean, like one of the funniest bits I've seen so far in this show is like one in the first or second episode where Kieran Culkin has his phone and he's watching this rocket launch and he's streaming it live from like China, and the thing just blows up like in such a spectacular way, and then he's like he just goes whew, and like puts it in his pocket, and he's
one of
just
the
getting back out to the
casualties.
party, and they're like, how'd the
Yeah,
launch go? He's like, oh, that's great. It went great. No one
just a
gave a
casualty
shit.
of yeah, just a casualty of people
No
died, and
one gave a shit in that whole
yeah,
room.
right, yeah,
And then
it's
he gets to work the next day, and it's like messages, and he's just ignoring it
I
the
mean, at
whole
some
time.
level, if you're, your capitalism class that you're taking, or anti-capitalism class, there's reasons to, you know, to cheer on a lot of the shit that goes down in this show, because the elite class gets taken to task a lot each episode. And sometimes they abuse the shit out of people. In the end of the first episode here, um, Kieran Culkin, Roman, enrolls like the groundskeeper's son in their softball game, and offers them a lot of money if the kid hits a home run, because they need someone to fill in. So they pull in the groundskeeper's son, and it's just brutally abusing this kid, emotionally, with just his whims, just Roman's whims at the moment. And it's just so hard to watch, to see that go down. And eventually some of these people get their just desserts. Sometimes they skate by, and I guess that's life, right? I mean, sometimes people get away with this stuff, sometimes they don't. And from that standpoint, I really enjoyed it. I mean, there's not a ton that's super realistic about this show.
Yeah.
It's over the top. It's, every uncomfortable act or corporate event that, you've been to or you've witnessed, it's like this drives it up to 11, and you just got to keep going, and you got to let it wash over you, and just like take a shower when you're done watching it.
Yeah. I don't know. Do you want to talk about the performances? I really find these characters. Plus, we can talk about the camera movement with that too, because I think part of the reason I really didn't like this in the beginning was I was like, God damn it, it's another fucking show that's shooting itself like The Office.
Yeah.
And there's something about The Office too that I've seen 5 seasons of The Office, to be fair. I think I've seen 4. I skipped the first season because I knew it was not going to be fun. I did not want to watch the first season. So I saw seasons 2 through 5. 2, 3, 4, and 5. I had to stop watching. It was boring. I hated it. It was so hard to watch at like, I was just tired of it. So I see this show and I'm like, not another one. Like, please don't do this. But now it doesn't feel as in my face. It feels like they've hit a rhythm, a stride with the camera movement where it's mockumentary style is never addressed, obviously, which I'm glad for. Like, thank God it hasn't been addressed yet. And they're not
Right.
breaking the fourth wall. Like, this is not a show that needs to break the fourth wall to be funny. But it really works now. I feel like they, at a certain point in season 1, they figured it out. They hit a stride, and the actors really know what they're doing. The choreography is really great. The way they can have people moving around an apartment and you still hear and see and like understand what's going on, even if it's like a one shot, like walk around or cutting through this apartment with the conversation going, and you know where people are. Like, it's really well. It is visually a really, really well done show. So I'm admiring that more and more. And yeah, talk about the performances. Jeremy Strong.
Yeah, Jeremy Strong, he's famously went method for this role, where he plays Kendall Roy.
How
And
method did he go?
to the point where his fellow actors, I mean, as each season would go along, his fellow actors would tell stories like, this dude concerns me. You know, it's like he was definitely over the top. He was playing Kendall even when they weren't filming, and it was making people pretty uncomfortable. So the bottom line is the performance on the screen was outstanding, and Brian Cox is obviously a famous actor, Broadway and Hollywood. So and this made a star out of Sarah Snook, who plays Shiv. Matthew McFadden, great British actor. I loved a show a few years ago called Ripper Street, where he played, like, 1800s style detective who was hanging around London during the Jack the Ripper times. So, he's great. And Kieran Culkin, obviously this was his breakout role too. Connor Roy as Connor Roy, the our Ferris Bueller guy. What's his name?
Yeah. Oh, sorry, Alan Ruck.
Yeah, Ruck. Right. Exactly. So he's got a bit of a secondary role in this.
Yeah.
But he
I thought he was a
also
punching bag before I saw the show.
he has his
I thought he was
moments
just gonna be
in
that.
the later. He definitely has his moments in the later seasons.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's everyone delivers here. There's not a weak spot in the cast, and it's totally worth it. You got to gear up for it. I don't think it's bingeable, frankly, because of you feel dirty, like I said, after you're done watching each episode. But it definitely should be put in everyone's library of shows they've seen.
Yeah, I have to agree. Try to
I'm
get through
sorry,
it.
where are you at now? What season did you finish?
I'm like, okay, I'll be honest. I have like 10 minutes left in the 5th episode of season 1.
Oh, okay. You got a ways to go. All right, good.
Yeah, so I'm about halfway through the first season. And yeah, this is a show that you really have to power through. Like, you might not like it in the beginning. And I would just say, like, take your time with it. Like, if you want to make it like a thing, like for a month, watch an episode a week. Just watch the first episode 1 week. And by the time you get to the 4th episode, if you don't like it, stop watching after the 4th episode. Like, I don't know. The switch might flip eventually, but I mean, it took me like 4 hours of television for me to go like, okay, this is a good show. Which is not the standard that I have in a movie.
It shouldn't be. And if it wasn't on HBO, and if it wasn't the 9 p.m. HBO show or 10 p.m., whatever the prime spot is, a lot of people probably would have given up. But my belief was, if HBO is putting this in that slot, it's got to be good, and I'll press through. Right, not a huge hardship, right? But I did press through, and a lot of people did, and it definitely paid. I don't know how anyone got to the end of season 1 and said, "Yeah, I'm done with this show. I'm giving up."
Yeah, I see that. Yeah.
It's the 3 or 4 that you got to get through before you get over that hump.
Yep.
And like I said, on rewatch, episode 1, I liked it 10 times more than the first time I saw it, which was weird.
Yeah, I'm curious to see if that trend will continue into like the episodes that you actually started to like the first time you watched.
Yeah, right.
I can't imagine watching episode 1 again. I would hate it. It would be terrible.
I didn't want to, but I wanted to fake my way through this podcast, honestly. I honestly did. It's like, I got to sit, because it was painful the first time I watched all that episode.
It is, yeah.
But I'll do it. And I just was enthralled. I fucking loved it.
Well, I'm glad that we had these new experiences with this show.
Exactly.
That's quite interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah, I guess this show can do a lot for you. It can make you feel a lot of different things.
Yep.
Yeah, anything else? Any final thoughts on Succession, our TV show?
No, sir. Good episode. Past Lives, see it. Succession, see it.
Yeah, Past Lives, that's where we differ. Watch Drive My Car first. Watch like some other Korean cinema. There's a lot of great Korean cinema that
Wasn't that Japanese?
Nope, it is Korean. Oh, Drive My Car? Yeah, Drive My Car is Japanese, my bad.
Yeah.
Just watch Old Boy.
What's Old Boy?
That's good. Wait, what?
What? I don't know what Old Boy is. What's
Old Boy is like a movie from like 2003. But it's like a classic. It's a thing that every film major mentions. Like, have you seen it yet? Have you seen it? Because it's got this crazy male lead. Basically, the concept of the movie is a guy gets like locked in a room, like he gets kidnapped and put in a room, and is like it's basically a prison, but it's like man-made. Like you can send someone there, like it's a service, but it's like they imprison you and like kidnap you, and like you're never seen again. And and then he gets out, and the rest of the movie takes place.
All right.
It's an interesting concept.
I'm gonna watch the trailer in a minute.
Yeah,
that reminds me that I'm watching the beginning of that trailer. The movie Room with Brie Larson, I think, is the lead in that. Similar concept. Someone's captive for a very long time, gets out, and then hijinks ensue. Fantastic movie.
Really, was it funny?
Great. No. Oh no. No, it's dramatic as hell, and it's hard to watch, but it's really well done. Anyway, maybe we'll do an episode of people stuck in rooms for a very long time.
Okay, yeah. We could do the you do the stuck in a room episode. All right. I think that's it. We shouldn't no, we're going to leave the next episode a mystery. Just cuz that's what we're going to continue to do. So,
good. I think that's it. Too.
Oh, no, we have a schedule.
I just forgot. Okay. I just forgot. Oh, yeah, I'm looking at it now. Okay, good.
Yeah.
And we're going to continue to try to give previews a couple of days before we drop an episode with what's in that upcoming episode. So, like, for instance, we're dropping a new episode. Well, this is going to be out of order. Bottom line is we will try to preview on our Instagram feeds.
And Twitter, if you follow us on Twitter.
The movie and the TV show that we'll be releasing 2 days after that, to give people a little bit of a heads up and an opportunity to maybe watch or rewatch something.
Yeah, because that's really what this is about. Like, we'd love if you would respond and watch along with us and tell us how you feel about what we said or how you feel about the movie too, because this is a shared experience. And it's not just for us, it's for everybody who enjoys listening to us. So if you do feel like you want to participate more, those previews should hopefully help you out. If you feel like they need to be sooner so that you have like a weekend to watch it, we should let us know. Message us. Our only followers on Twitter are ourselves. So follow us on Twitter, on Instagram, what have you.
We got good traffic on Instagram though. Keep going.
We do. I haven't been following people back, but that's not a diss, guys. I just want to keep our ratio up. So we love all of our followers. I think we're going to put out a new Instagram poll at some point, but by the time you hear this, it'll have already been done. So I'm just telling Eric, really. You don't need to hear any of this.
We're having a private meeting now. Thanks for everyone else for joining our meeting.
You can. Okay, guys.
Hey, Ben,
Yeah,
good talk.
it was a great talk, Eric. Always a pleasure.
Take care.